Hello students, in previous class we had seen the introduction, application areas and some of the types of a clustering, right? So today we can look into the clustering types, that is clustering paradigm. Okay, there are two main approaches in a clustering, that is hierarchical and a partition clustering. Okay, hierarchical clustering means the hierarchical clustering techniques do a sequence of partition in which each partition is nested into the next partition in the sequence. It creates a hierarchy of clusters from small to big or big to small. Means it divides some of the data. So those are known as a hierarchical clustering. Okay. So the hierarchical techniques are of two types, that is agglomerative and divisive clustering. So under that first one, agglomerative clustering. It is a bottom up approach. This technique start with an many clusters, as there are records with each cluster having only one record. So here if it has a group of clusters in one side, then it will be subdivided to form a one particular single record. Okay, so here you can see the image, that is from the single elements it is grouping the object. Okay, so this is what the agglomerative clustering considered. Okay, the pairs of clusters are successively merged under the number of clusters reduces to the k. So from the number of clusters it will be grouped into a single element like that. Okay, at each stage the pair of clusters that are merged are the ones nearest to each other. If the merging is continued, it terminates in a hierarchy of cluster which is built with just a single cluster containing all the records at the top of the hierarchy. So it's a bottom up approach. Okay, agglomerative clustering is a bottom up approach. So here you can see the single elements have been considered and it had made a group. Okay, group element, that is a b c d f in a one particular form cluster. Okay, so this is known as a agglomerative clustering. Next we can look into the divisive clustering. It is an opposite of a agglomerative clustering. It is a top down approach. So whereas in agglomerative clustering it was a bottom up approach, here it is a top down approach. Divisive clustering techniques start with all the records in one cluster and then split the cluster into the smaller pieces depending on the data that is used for clustering. So here from the from the set of a particular cluster, it will subdivide into the smaller pieces. Okay, so this is known as a divisive clustering. You can see one diagram here. You can see that pqrst is in one single object, then it is further divided into the sub objects, that is pq and rst, and where pq is further divided into the single elements, that is pq. Then here from rst you can see r is divided, then st is further subdivided into single form, that is S and T. So this is about the divisive clustering. Whereas you can see the agglomerative clustering, that arrow mark is showing to down to up, right, bottom up approach, where from PQ it makes a the single elements, that is grouping, that is PQRST. So this is about the hierarchical clustering, where we have two types, that is agglomerative and divisive clustering. Okay, so next we have partition clustering. The second type of clustering is a partition clustering. Partitioning algorithm techniques partition the database into a predefined number of clusters, where here in this algorithm it is the data set is already known. Okay, they attempt to determine the k partition that optimize certain criterion function. So in clustering we use the k symbol. Okay, k symbol to partition the data or clustering. Okay, clustering is formed into the k. In many places you can see that is it represent it as a k. Okay, so the partition clustering algorithms are of three types, that is k-means, k-medoid and k-mode algorithm. So these are the three algorithms which we will be applying for this type of data sets. Okay, when we need to partition the data. So the partition algorithm is implemented in two approaches, that is exhaustive enumeration. So here this method that find the global optimal partition in practical infeasible except where n and k are very small. So here next one is iterative optimization, that is starts with an initial partition and uses an iterative control strategy. Here, these are mainly used when the measuring of a particular elements in a cluster. So there are different types of distance measure, like Euclidean distance means which is used to find out the distance between the two points or two elements. Then we have the Manhattan distance, that is it is a sum of the distance between the x-axis and y-axis. Then we have the square means square of Euclideans. Then cosine means the angle between the two vector form from a original. So these are some of the measures that we or methods that can be used while we are measuring the clustering elements and all. Okay. So here these are the two approaches, exhaustive enumeration and the iterative optimization. Okay. So write down this in your notes. Okay. Thank you.